annotation is data that have a special meaning for a Java method. Our execution flow depends on the annotations. We will look at the TestNG XML file to understand the execution flow for a suite, test, class, and method. In the IDE, we will look at the TestNG package for the directory of annotations. There are many annotations, but we will focus on the test annotation and configuration annotations. The test annotation identifies our test method. A configuration annotation always starts with before or after. They are called configuration annotations because each annotation performs an event before our test and after our test. For a reference AUT, we will use Selenium Playground from LambdaTest. Our mark test is date pickers, and list box. Bootstrap date picker, jQuery date picker, Bootstrap list box, and jQuery list box. For our code, we start by creating a package. Under Test Java, right-click Java, New Package. Name is Demo TestNG. Now we create a class by right-clicking Demo TestNG, New Java class. Name is Configuration. Annotations _1 date pickers. Let's create one more class by right-clicking Demo TestNG, New Java class. This time the name will be Configuration Annotations _2 list box. In the class, the test begins with an @ symbol, then test. The @ symbol is short for @ a rate symbol. Test represents the test script. Public void test1 _bootstrap date picker. Let me update the import statements so it can import all of the annotations and add some lines so we have some room at the bottom. For demonstration purposes, let's use print statements. For the test method, first one, the print statement will be test method 1 bootstrap date picker. We can add more than one test. So by doing that, all we need is to write the @test again, then provide a different name. Test2 jQuery date picker. Change test method 1 to test method 2. jQuery date picker. Now let's run. We have two test methods, test method 1 and test method 2. Both test methods passed. This next part is interesting because in our project, we will set up some events before our test method. One of the configuration annotations is the @before method to set up before the test. Now, for this, I will name it public void before method. The print statements will be execute before each test method. Also, we need to perform some events after our test method. The configuration annotation comes in pairs, and the pair for before method is after method. The name will be after method. The print statement, let's add the print statements based on how they operate. And it executes after each test method. Now let's run to see the execution flow. The console shows us 6 print statements, 2 before methods, 2 test methods, and 2 after test methods. Before each test method, we see an execution statement, then test method 1 and test method 2. After each test method, we see an execution statement. Let's modify these print statements so the console is better for us to read. For the test methods, let's add 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and write the number 5. Copy and paste the same information for the second test method. For the before method, let's add 4 print statements, 1, 2, 3, 4, then add the number 4. And I'm going to copy and paste this information for the after method. Do you see the method names before method and after method? These names can be any name. However, the annotations before method, after method, and test cannot be any name because these annotations are strongly typed, so the compiler will flag any mistakes if they are not correct. Recall, configuration annotations are annotations that start with before or after. I prefer to call them preconditions and postconditions. So far, we know how to add an event before each test method and after each test method. We can also execute an event before each class and after each class. We write before class, public void, before class is the method name. The print statement, let's add 1, 2, 3 spaces. Execute before class. The class name is date pickers. Copy and paste. Then change the name from before class to after class. Change the method name to after class. Also, the print statement, it executes after the class. Now, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and run, and let's see what the console shows us. Yes, we see the console. It shows the before class execute one time before everything in the class. The after class execute one time after everything in the class. Yes, and the number 3 print statements shows execute before class dates pickers and execute after class date pickers. That's cool. Most people create the test annotations at the method level. However, we can also implement the test annotations at the class level. So let me show you by copying all of this information. Then paste this information in the next class. Now, at this point, I want you to recognize that we have the method and annotations in a certain order, but TestNG identifies the method by looking up the annotations. Therefore, we can place the annotations anywhere in the class, and they will still execute in the same order. So for demonstration, I'm going to copy all of this information for the configuration annotations, I'm going to cut, then paste them at the top in a different order. Also, I'm going to show you about placing the test annotation at the class level by removing it from the method level. Go up top, before public class, write at test. Now it's at the class level. Also, change the names from date pickers to list box for before class. Now for the after class. Now for the test, I'm going to change test 1 to test 3. Then put bootstrap list box. Test method 3, bootstrap list box. Also change test 2 to test 4. jQuery list box. Test method 4, jQuery list box. Plus I'm going to add some line spaces. Now let's run and see how they execute in the same order. The only difference should be the names from date picker to list box. Yes. So we see the class and the methods have list box and they execute in the same order. Cool. Okay, so now at this point, I want to show you another concept, and that's executing both classes at the same time. Let's transition to the TestNG XML file. And we create it by right-clicking the project, selecting New, then TestNG. Provider name can be any name, but it is a convention to name the XML file as TestNG.xml. If you do not have TestNG as an option after selecting New, then you can create it from scratch by finding a template, then copy and pasting the information from the template. For example, you can right-click the project, select New, then File. Name the file, how about TestNG_classes. Make sure to add .xml as the extension. Then you paste the default information. Now we have TestNG XML. To run both classes, we start by adding a suite name. And let's make the name Annotations. Now we add the tags. A suite contains one or more tests. So the first tag is test. Name is a required attribute. And the name for this test, how about we call it Run Class Annotations. A test contains one or more classes. Therefore, the next tag is classes. Now we must add each class by writing class. The class name, it starts with the package name, which is demo TestNG. Then the class name. The IntelliSense shows us two classes, configuration annotations _1 _date pickers, configuration annotations _2 list box. Let's select date pickers. Let's also add one more class for demo TestNG dot and select the second one. Now we have both classes. Let's run to see if it shows us all 4 methods for both classes. And it looks like it print the correct information because we see all 4 methods. Test method 1, test method 2, test method 3, and test method 4. Notice we see a print statement for number 3. Before class dates pickers and after class dates pickers. Also, number 3, before class list box and after class list box. They print before and after each class. For number 4, we see execute before each test method preceding the test method and execute each test method following each test method. In addition to executing each class, we can also execute a method, a particular method. We can pick and choose which method to execute in the class. For example, let me copy and paste this XML. Then I'm going to rename it to methods. Update the name from run class annotations to run methods. A class contains one or more methods. Therefore, we write methods. That's the next tag. And within that method, we can include each method we want to execute by using include as the tag. The name is test_1 bootstrap date picker. And let me verify that the name is correct. Yes, bootstrap date picker. I'm going to not include test 2. So with this setup, test 2 will not execute, but test 3 and 4 will execute because we have the complete class. So in the console, we should see test 1, 3, and 4. Yes, we see test method 1, no test 2, but we see test method 3 and test method 4. There is another feature that TestNG offers. And let me copy and paste this tag and change test 1 to test 2 jQuery date picker. So with that new feature, we can exclude a test. Now test method 1 will not execute. Let's run. As expected, we do not see test 1, but the console shows us test method 2, test method 3, and test method 4. So far, we have seen the test annotation, before method, after method, before class, and after class. Now, let's look at before test, after test, before suite, and after suite. The XML file gives us a clue on how they would execute. At the top level, we have suite. So that's the before suite annotation. At the bottom, we see suite, and that's the after suite annotation. The next level is test. If we wanted to, we could add more test tags. Each test tag shows us the before test and after test annotations on how they would execute. For this tutorial, let's only keep one test tag pair. Let's go back to class 2 and continue with the annotations. With this annotation, the next one is at before test, public void, before test. And I'm going to add a print statement with 1, 2 spaces, and it execute before each test. Next is the after test annotation. Let me change the name from before test to after test, and it execute after each test. The next pair is before suite and after suite. So let me add those annotations. Before suite, public void before suite. The test annotation is execute before the suite. I'm going to also copy this information and paste, then change before suite to after suite. Also the method name after suite. Finally, the print statement. Now let's run and see what the console shows us. I'm going to execute the classes XML file because they have all 4 methods. In the console, we see 1, 2, 3 for the suite, test, and class at the top. At the bottom, we see class, test, and suite. In the middle, we see each test method, the before methods, and the after methods. Also, the before class and after class. So the console shows us all of the annotations that we expect. There is one last concept for the configuration annotations that I want to show you, and that is the before group and after group annotations. The purpose of these 2 annotations is to execute before and after any test that is mentioned in a particular group. So for that setup, we have to add the test methods to a group. You know how automation is good for executing smoke tests and regression tests? Let's create those test types. In class 1, for test 1, we write groups equals smoke. For test 2, we write groups equals. We can also include curly braces, then double quotes. For this, it will be regression. That's all we need to add a test to a group. If you wanted to, you could add one test to more than one group. For example, we have regression. I'm going to also include end to end, which is ETE for short. In class 2, the test annotations is at the class level. So every test method will be in the same group. How about groups equal smoke? Now we have added the test to a group, and at this point we write the annotations before group and after group. So it's the same concept at, before, group. However, this time we add the groups. The groups are regression and smoke. The print statements will come after I name the method, which is public void before groups. Let's include a print statement that says execute before group. Copy this information, then paste it. Change before to after for the annotation, the method name, and the print statement. Now we are going to use an XML file, but I'm going to copy the XML file from the classes file because it includes all of the methods. Paste, then rename it to groups. At this point, we need to include a tag inside of the test tag, and that test tag would be called groups. Inside the groups tag, we add run. I'm going to also rename the test name to run group annotations. Now, inside of the run tag, we decide what group we want to run. Include the regression. Just like the methods, we can exclude a group. Let's include smoke. You know what? If I do not plan to run a method or run a group, I prefer to remove it. Let's remove regression and only run smoke. Now, let's run. The console should show 3 test methods. In the console, we see test method 1, test method 3, and test method 4. The group print statements print before the test method, and it print after the test method. That's it for TestNG Annotations. Next, we will write our first test using TestNG and Selenium. If you would like to learn more, then make sure to follow the blogs at www.LambdaTest.com/blog and community.LambdaTest.com. In addition to the blogs, you can earn a certification at www.LambdaTest.com/certifications. Get educated, get recognized.